I never expected the night to start like that. The front door creaking open, and there she was, my daughter-in-law, stumbling in with her silk blouse half unbuttoned, the fabric clinging to her skin from the rain outside. She reeked of cheap wine and that jasmine perfume she always wore, the scent hitting me before I even reached her. My son was gone again, chasing another promotion, leaving the house to quiet, to empty since my wife passed. I caught her as she swayed, her body collapsing against my chest, warm and heavy in a way that sent an instant jolt through me. God, the way she fit there, her head tucking under my chin, the lace edge of her bra brushing my shirt through the thin material. I could feel her breath, quick and uneven, against my neck. Dad. She slurred my name, her voice soft and broken, like she'd been holding it in for hours. My hands steadied her waist, careful, so careful, but the heat of her skin through that blouse made my fingers tremble. I told myself it was just helping family, nothing more, but my heart was already racing, a guilty thunder I hadn't felt in years. I guided her toward the couch, one arm around her shoulders, the other supporting her as her heels clicked unevenly on the floor. Her skirt had ridden up a little on one side, and when my hand accidentally brushed the soft skin of her thigh, she let out this little giggle, eyes half closed, lashes fluttering. "You always make me feel safe, Dad," she murmured, leaning heavier into me. The words landed like a spark on dry leaves. I swallowed hard, lowering her onto the cushions, but she didn't let go right away. Her fingers curled into my shirt, pulling me closer for just a second longer than necessary. The jasmine mixed with the wine filled the air between us, sweet and dizzying, reminding me of all those family dinners where I'd catch myself watching her laugh across the table. How her eyes would crinkle, lighting up the whole room while my son checked his phone. This was wrong. She was my son's wife. I was the lonely widower, retired and rattling around in this house like a ghost. It cracked something open and buried deep. Months of us living like reluctant housemates while he chased success had worn down the walls. I'd listened to her complaints about his long nights, nodding like a good father figure, all while fighting the quiet ache that grew every time I saw her in those tight yoga pants or stepping out of the shower with damp hair and flushed cheeks. Helping her now felt heavier than any obligation should. My pulse wouldn't slow. I sat beside her on the couch. Close enough that our knees almost touched, the air thick with everything unsaid. She shifted, her head tilting toward my shoulder, and for a moment I forgot how to breathe properly. Why did her closeness feel like gravity pulling me under? I was supposed to be the steady one, the rock. Not this man whose skin was suddenly too aware of every inch where we connected. The scent of her perfume lingered on my shirt now, and I hated how much I noticed it, hated how part of me didn't want to pull away. She sighed, eyes drifting shut, murmuring something about the wine hitting harder than she thought. My hand hovered near hers on the cushion, an inch away, fingers twitching with the urge to close that tiny gap. I told myself to stand up, get her water, do anything but stay here feeling the warmth radiating from her body. But I didn't move, not yet. The house was so still around us, just the sound of her breathing and the distant tick of the clock reminding me how late it was, how alone we were. And then her fingers brushed mine, accidental or not, sending a spark straight through me that made my chest tighten with shame and something far more dangerous. I knew I should stop this right there. But the night had only just begun, and the pull between us felt impossible to ignore. I stood up on unsteady legs, telling myself this was just basic care, the kind any decent father-in-law would offer. She swayed when I helped her to the bathroom, her weight leaning into my side like she trusted me completely. I ran cool water from the tap, filled a glass, and pressed it into her hands. "Drink this slowly," I whispered, my voice rougher than I meant. Our fingers overlapped on the cool glass, hers soft and warm against my calloused ones, sending a quiet jolt up my arm that I tried to ignore. She sipped, eyes half-lidded, then nodded for me to help with her stained blouse. So I fetched one of my old turts from the drawer, faded gray and oversized. Standing close in the dim hallway light, I eased it over her head, careful not to tug too hard. Her hair brushed my forearm as it fell, silky strands carrying that faint jasmine scent mixed with the lingering wine. For a second our eyes met through the collar, her breath warm on my wrist, and the air between us thickened until I could almost hear my own pulse. We ended up in the kitchen anyway, the clock glowing past 3. Leftover pizza set cold on the counter, but she picked at a slice with a sleepy smile. The old radio hummed low in the background, playing that slow melody she always loved. Unchained melody, its notes wrapping around us like something private and forbidden. She laughed softly at some silly memory, the sound light and grateful, and it filled the hollow places in my chest I'd forgotten were there. I told myself it was only helping family, easing her through a rough night, but every shared bite, every quiet chuckle, felt like a small repayment for all the lonely evenings I'd spent in this house alone. Back on the couch, the night stretched longer. She shifted closer without thinking, her head coming to rest on my shoulder, hair spilling warm against my neck. She murmured, voice cracking with the weight of it. Her bare leg draped casually over mine, smooth skin pressing through the rough denim of my jeans, the contact burning slow and steady into my memory. The jasmine grew stronger now, mingled with her natural warmth, wrapping around me until my thoughts fogged. My mind screamed that this was wrong, that blood and vows tied her to my son, that I owed him loyalty after all these years. But my body betrayed me with a rush of heat I hadn't felt in decades, a forbidden pull that made my breath catch. I sat frozen, feeling the weight of her against me, alive and soft and needing someone in a way that twisted everything inside. God, what am I doing? Shess drunk, Shess family by marriage. But she feels so alive here, warm and trusting, like Shess been starving for this kind of closeness. My son doesn't see it, doesn't appreciate how she lights up a room when Shess happy. I could make her feel wanted again just for tonight. No, stop, this is betrayal of the worst kind. Yet the way she sighs against me, the way her fingers rest near mine. It's been so long since anyone looked at me like I mattered, like I could still be someone's safe place. The song faded into another slow tune, and her breathing deepened, but she didn't pull away. My hand hovered inches from hers on the cushion, fingers twitching with the urge I refused to name. The house stayed quiet around us, just the faint tick of the clock and the soft rhythm of her exhales brushing my collar. I told myself to stand, to put distance between us before the gravity became too strong, but I stayed, letting the warmth of her seep through my shirt, letting the ache build in silence. She shifted again, leg pressing a fraction firmer, and a low sound escaped her, almost a contented hum. My chest tightened with shame and something far hungrier, the kind of craving that makes a man question every promise a Chias ever made. How much longer could I pretend this was innocent? The night pressed in, heavy with everything we weren't saying, and I felt myself slipping closer to the edge I swore I'd never approach. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, meeting mine in the low light, and the question hung there unspoken between us, pulling tighter. Her arms came around me without warning, pulling tight like she was afraid the world might slip away if she let go. "Thank you," she whispered, voice thick and trembling against my skin, "for always being here when no one else is." Her lips brushed the side of my neck by accident, soft and warm, sending a jolt straight through me that I had no right to feel. I froze completely, every muscle locked, fighting the sudden urge to wrap my arms around her waist and hold her even closer. Instead, I patted her back gently, the way a father should, slow and careful, like that could erase the heat blooming where her breath lingered. We stayed like that a second too long. When we finally pulled apart, the air between us felt heavier, charged with something neither of us named. Both of us were breathing harder than before, chests rising and falling in the quiet room. Outside, rain began tapping against the windows, soft at first, then steadier, like it knew exactly what was stirring inside my chest. A storm mirroring the one I was trying so hard to ignore. Her phone lit up on the table, buzzing once, twice. She glanced at it, then rolled her eyes with a tired laugh that didn't reach her heart. "It's him," she said, tilting the screen toward me. "Another week. Work." Again, the words hung there, simple and sharp. She looked down, fingers twisting the edge of her shirt. I feel invisible sometimes. Like him, just waiting in the background. The jealousy he'd buried for years flared hot and sudden. Why would he leave someone so full of life sitting alone in the dark? It gave my thoughts dangerous permission. I was only stepping in where he wouldn't, filling the empty space she carried, repaying the gentle way she'd always made this house feel less hollow. That was all. Just kindness. Nothing more. We decided the couch wasn't enough anymore. She needed proper rest, so we moved toward the guest room, steps slow and unsteady from the wind still humming in our veins. But once we reached the bed, she turned, eyes soft and pleading. "Don't go yet. Stay and talk, just until I fall asleep." I hesitated at the doorway, then sat on the very edge of the mattress, trying to keep distance between us. Her hand found my knee anyway, resting there lightly at first, then tracing slow, idle circles with her fingertips. Each small movement sent sparks racing up my leg, fire I couldn't name or stop. The oversized t-shirt she wore had slipped off one shoulder, revealing the smooth line of her collarbone glowing faintly in the lamplight. I looked away, but the image burned behind my eyes. Another glass of water turned into something else when she spotted the hidden bottle of whiskey on the shelf. "Just a little," she murmured, and suddenly we were sharing it, passing the glass back and forth in the dim room. The liquid loosened our tongues, made the words come easier, the silences warmer. Jasmine from her skin wrapped around everything, sweet and dizzying, mixing with the rain's steady rhythm against the glass. I told myself this was still innocent, just two people talking through a lonely night. But every circle her fingers drew on my knee pulled the gravity stronger, every shared sip made the boundaries blur a little more. She kept whispering warnings, blood, vows, my own son. But my body leaned in despite them, hungry for the closeness she offered without realizing what it cost. She laughed at something small I said, the sound low and grateful, and I felt that ache deepen, the kind that makes a man forget every promise a cheat has ever kept. The rain fell harder now, drumming like a heartbeat we couldn't outrun. Her hand stayed on my knee, warm through the fabric, and I wondered how much longer I could pretend the night was only about comfort. One more sigh, and the almost moments might stop being almost. This can't happen. She's my daughter-in-law, my son's wife, but her eyes, heavy with the same hunger that had been eating me alive for years. I had been so empty, a house full of echoes and routines that never quite filled the space. One night of feeling truly seen, of feeling alive. It wouldn't destroy everything, would it? If I crossed this line, there was no going back. Yet stopping now felt like denying the only real connection I'd had in years, like turning my back on the warmth that had slowly thawed something frozen inside me. She leaned in slowly, her breath warm against my ear, carrying that faint jasmine scent mixed with whiskey. "You make me feel seen, Dad, more than he ever does." Her hand slid higher on my thigh, the fabric between us doing nothing to dull the heat. Our faces drew inches apart, the tension snapping like a live wire in the dark. My resolve crumbled right there. I cupped her face, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the rain, ready to close that final distance. When the doorbell suddenly rang, sharp and jarring in the silent house. We froze, staring at each other in the half-light, her lips parted and eyes wide with the same mix of fear and longing. The knocking continued as rain poured harder outside, relentless against the windows. I pulled back, chest tight with the crushing weight of every moral line I'd almost erased, whispering we should check the door, but neither of us moved immediately. My hand still lingered near her cheek, her still burning on my thigh. The night hung on that knife's edge, one choice away from shattering everything, or stepping back into the lonely silence I'd known too well. Insistent, I forced myself to stand, legs unsteady, the ache in my chest spreading like a storm that refused to break. She sat there on the edge of the bed, the oversized t-shirt slipping further, her breathing still quick and shallow. I glanced back once. Just once. Her gaze held mine, full of everything we hadn't said, everything we almost did. I opened the door to find a drenched delivery driver with a forgotten package from my son, some paperwork he'd promised weeks ago. The irony tasted bitter on my tongue. While I signed, she stayed in the guest room, the soft glow of the lamps spilling into the hallway like a secret we were both guarding. When I returned, the air between us had shifted, heavier now, charged with what we'd almost surrendered to. We didn't speak of it. Not really. She simply nodded when I said it was late, that we both needed sleep. But as I turned to leave, her fingers brushed mine one last time, light as a breath, heavy as regret. I closed the door behind me, leaning against it in the dark hallway, listening to the rain and the quiet sounds of her settling in. The house felt emptier than before, every creak echoing the war still raging inside me. I had stopped just a night. Barely, but the hunger didn't fade. It settled deeper, a quiet fire that would burn long after the storm passed. What would happen if the doorbell hadn't rung? Or if next time we chose not to answer? That question lingers in the dark, pulling at me even now.